not Big Bimbo. Like, who does he think he is? J.R. Hendrick, Texan consort, and gentlemen, podcast of the early life of yours truly, in a narrative commentary. Okay, so this is probably going to be a lengthy podcast, and I need everybody to bear with me. Okay, I'll see what's wrong here. Okay, April 1st. Here we go. 5 a.m. Central. JR and Brent are sleeping in the hotel room when a knock comes to the door. Brent, your dad's downstairs now. You and JR get up and suited in your jerseys and pack your gear. We're having breakfast. Brent, last night, Dad told me in secret he's putting $6,190,000 for a wedding present for my cousin's wedding. Oh, peace and harmony waits for me this summer, Jared said. JR with Jennifer gone. This makes all the difference in the world. Now, they have breakfast burritos for breakfast. And JR has a bacon, egg, potato, and cheese burrito. Obviously absent was Charlie Nation, okay? He was suspended from the team permanently. Brent's sitting with his father, so J.R. Smith with Dave Smith. He's like, all right, look, I get it, you don't want to talk about Jennifer. Neither do I. And J.R. said, I'd rather talk about the trip to Gainesville. I'm taking for Easter weekend. You coming with me? And he's like, no, JR. I'm afraid not. Mom and Dad want me in Big Spring with them. They're having a nice barbecue picnic. It's straight for me and Ken to go there alone. Look, ask Kevin McDonald, ask Brent Clark. I'm sure they'd love to join you for Easter. That may be what I have to do. I don't have much family to spend Easter with, and with Mom and Dad away in D.C. Yeah, poor JR, man. Jennifer breaks his heart, and he's looking for his call of his own little family. Now it's 9 a.m., and Jim is in his own office listen to President Clinton. He's had a little radio conference here in Little Rock, and Jim was happy that his son was working in the thick of all this Small Business Administration in Lubbock. He found out he'd be in partnership with the Small Business Administration in New Orleans, Carmen Ortez. Now, Carmen Ortez had a cousin named Carmen Ortiz. And Ortiz was assigned by JR's father. Look after him, make sure he's dressed and everything. Making sure he's at school on time. Now, it's 9 a.m., UT Austin. Swim meet was underway, and there's a diving competition. With Charlie and two others disqualified. Brent was the only candidate for Texas Tech for the diving competition. The judge gave him a 99.5, you know. It qualified him for the Saturday's swim meet against the University of Houston. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Jim walks into the Dream Team Lounge with his lunch to find Forever and Sarge. They're cuddling on the couch. Oh, now, you two love birds. Break it up. I know you're getting married, Jim said. Even though you haven't announced that wedding date yet. And Sarge said, actually, Forever, I got some schoolwork to do. And Forever says, Aunt Betsy wants me downstairs. Okay, 1 p.m. Time's come for JR's qualifying heat. As he went down to the pool area, he was surprised to see Uncle Carl and Aunt Donna sitting at the stands. I could hear Aunt Donna say, "Go, Junior," as I went down the pool area. And then the announcer's like, "On your mark, get set." And you know, the buzzer's ringing and JR is swimming with all his might. He gets third place. And here's JR, he says, as I got out of the pool, the coach put the bronze medal around my neck and hugged me, saying he was proud of me. And he says, well, he's not going to swim meet against the University of Houston because he has a debate going on with Harvard. Now, it's 5 p.m. Eastern, and Betsy decides to have the family have a little picnic dinner for everybody on the grounds of the mansion, you know. This was to be a spring celebration of the family being together again, you know. This is like the first time in a while. Betsy seems blissfully happy. Her husband's side. Her and Jim hand in hand. It's just before dinner, the two embraced and kissed. They realized how much they loved and missed each other. It's kind of like, aww. Aww. Well, that was cool. Okay, so August 2nd. It's 1 a.m. Jim wakes up hungover. And he makes a ginger, banana, coconut concoction he occasionally uses for his hangover. Last night, after the picnic, Jim and Betsy sat on the porch of the mansion talking, and then went to the bedroom to make good love to each other. Jim even reluctantly agreed to go to church with Betsy today. Ooh, it's going to be interesting. 2 a.m. Eastern. After finishing reading the Sunday edition of the Fort Worth Times, he's looking at the past 2 days. The topics swirling around the papers was Whitewater. He fishes out the Sunday edition, the Commerce Street Journal. It's a moderate newspaper. Now it's 3 a.m. Jim goes downstairs for a little hair of the dog to get over his hangover. Now, I thought it was Palm Sunday, 1995, but it's not. So, we cut to 6:25 a.m. Betsy wakes up and goes to sit by her husband's side. Dream Team Lounge. And she says, I see you want to talk. And Jim said, you know me so damn well. And he says, you're so weighed down by that Bottomless Lake. And Jim said, you don't have to get involved. And she said, I do, because I know it helps you out. You're weighed down because Claude was being dumb. And she, they're embracing each other, and kissing everything. She's not too happy with Claude for, dumping this Bottomless Lake thing on him, knowing it's a conflict of interest, knowing that this is going to attack him and everything. 6:30 a.m. Central. Breakfast with biscuits. Blueberry muffins are for breakfast, the Holy Spirit Club. And JR takes his muffins and sit down with C.B. Coleman. And he says, Brent's father called yesterday. Brent's on a flight to D.C. this morning to be with him. And JR's like, why is Bill Clark in Washington, D.C.? Consulting with Janet Reno and the classmates of him from Tech Law School. And JR's like, Daddy always said he was a little short on brains. And CB says, JR, don't be so bitter. Don't tell me you too think Jennifer Byers will call me today. JR understand, but I believe in miracles. So it's 7 a.m. Central. JR returns to the room and discovers some voicemail on the answer machines in Jennifer. She said she was coming back from attending Shrine in London. She said she once believed in the relationship, but she had to end it to keep her parents together. And nonchalantly, JR erases the answer machine message. And so Allison said, well, what'd you do that for? And JR said, now Jennifer and I are over. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Central. JR arrives back in his dorm room. And Kevin McDonald said, well, now, how was church? And he said, I went to the First Baptist Church, college services, student union, but it wasn't the same. And I couldn't think of a good Sunday school program to go to. So I went over to the Holy Spirit Club. Assemblies of Christ is having their worldwide assembly broadcast from Lincoln, Nebraska. And Kevin McDonald says, don't forget where you came, man. And JR said, cease and desist, Kevin. Okay. Dave Smith says, cease and desist, Kevin. JR's been through a lot. And Kevin says he can't just stay mad just because his grandmother's dying and forget about his heritage. And JR says he's not mad. And I said, now if I'm going back to Holy Spirit Club, so it's 2 p.m. Central, and Kyle and his family are attending a rodeo in Ballinger. Who should show up but his long-lost daddy, John Dustin. How's your mother? He asks him. And Kyle says, I don't see how it's any of your business, Dad. She and Daddy are back together, so don't try anything. Come on, Kyle. I'm your father. Just because I abandoned ship before you were born, that I don't care about you and your mom. And Kyle's like, if Daddy finds out that you're here and that you even think about coming for Mama, if she decides to come visit Texas, there's going to be hell to pay. Jim Hendrick defends his family no matter what. Well then, you do not understand the whole truth. Because you were too young to understand. I was the one that took you and your mama and JR when Jim Hendrick turned them away for being so damn selfish. John Dustin, dang it. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm hoping, I'm getting a new phone to do this podcast on. And it's hoping that it's got a little school bell app on it. Because if so, I'm gonna have it to where the school bell's like, hey, you're about to get schooled. 3 p.m. Central. Jared managed to sit down in the Holy Spirit Club for the Assemblies of Christ Worldwide Assembly. some of the topics like family and having children made JR want to bail. But the good news was that C.B. Coleman, Allison, and Stoney Rosen was there for him. Okay, 6 p.m. Eastern. The family is together, and they are having a roast dinner, having a good time, and they're discussing things. And Jim says, Betsy, honey, do you want to ask the blessing? And Betsy asks the blessing in this way. She says, Heavenly Father, we are indeed thankful for this day of for what's going to happen in this family on Palm Sunday. Bless this food and all that good stuff. Okay, 6 p.m. Central. Burgers are for dinner at the Holy Spirit Club as JR sits down in between C.B. Coleman and Allison. And Allison, she's pretty perceptive. Something's wrong, JR. And JR's like, it's about Easter. JR turned me down about going over to Gainesville for the weekend for Easter. And all I have is me and Ken. And CB says, well, why can't you just ride home with Tim Newcastle for Easter? And JR's like, no. My brother's in charge of the house, of the ranch. It just won't be the same with Mama and Daddy gone. Grandma's dying. I just want to have a crew to spend Easter with. Me and Kyle just don't get along. And CB says, I'm sorry, JR. Me suggesting that you ride with Tim back to the ranch. It was stupid to do. And Allison said, well, did you ask Kevin McDonald? He's been so busy I didn't even know whether to ask. And CB says, why Gainesville? With your wealth, you can go to Florida. And JR's like, Gainesville, I have a place to stay. I don't want to spend Easter in some hotel. And CB's like, alright then. I'll tell you what. And this is what Allison said. Brent asked me to pick him up, when he flies back from Washington, D.C. tomorrow night. I'll ask him. Okay, so it's 7 p.m. Eastern. Jim in his own home office, fuming mad. He had invited Claude to come down to celebrate Palm Sunday with him. However, Claude was still, he's still pissed with him over that contract. And so Betsy runs to his side. And she says, Claude's such a freaking jerk. And he is, okay? So once again, if the podcasting app has school bell, I'm going to say this. You're about to get schooled. And so, he says, I can't believe he's still mad over that. And she says, And we have Cordell Wheeler to blame for that. And she says, and that deal, we can cancel it. Jim's like, hell, I don't know. Of course, so it's 7 p.m. Central. With no Spirit Club devotional, JR is at the library at Smith Hall. He was looking online for sample communication briefs to write, because tomorrow he was being assigned to, by Karen Keith, to write a one-pager. He knew that tomorrow's work with the internship would be challenging. Write the communication brief, attend a press conference, and write a brief fact sheet about an executive summary. Whew. Let me tell you something. April 3rd, 3:30 a.m. Jim wakes up early and goes to the kitchen to get a cup of coffee. The hurt with Claude was still fresh on his mind, and so he is happy to be returning to his duties at the Small Business Administration. 6 a.m. Eastern. Christine wakes up in a huff and goes downstairs, and finding her father in the kitchen, and they start to talk. So, Daddy, do you think I'll get selected? Christine said. I think you'll do perfect, Jim said. Daddy, that's not the answer I wanted. You're being unripe. And Christine's like, this big position here in Washington has changed you the way I hate. And so Betsy walks in. He says, now, young lady, straighten up. Understand, your daddy made sacrifices so you could be picked for this wonderful pageant and the chance to be tomorrow night on Capitol Hill. If you don't straighten up this rebellion of yours, I'm going to stick you in boarding school. And so Grandma Elizabeth walks in. She's like, I don't want to hear any more of this stupid bickering. And we swing women, we don't send our kids to boarding schools. Now, Christine, I'm warning you. Be careful what you say. Especially as you're getting ready for this pageant. And so Jim said, look, I'm sorry. I don't want any of this bickering here. Our family just got back together. And it's not going to help me one damn bit. Christine, your mama and I sleep in the same room, same bed, for the first time in months. I know that I've been errant. Give me a break. Now it's 6:30 a.m. and taking his plate full of cinnamon rolls, orange juice. JR sits in the in between Stevie Coleman and Allison. And Allison asked, "Did you ask Kevin McDonald?" He said, "Yes. I asked him this morning. His parents say they are driving to Hillsboro to see his sister and brother-in-law, so he wants to spend this weekend in Gainesville with me." "You need one more person," Stevie said. "Brent comes back tonight. I'll ask him myself. I think it would do him some good to spend some time on vacation with JR. That's Allison. And so Calvin Brotherson comes and sat down with them. He said, "I would come, but this is the last Easter I'm going to see my brother before he goes on his mission, Manila, Philippines, and I want to see him before he goes off in June." So CB says, "Oh, don't worry. We'll have a good crew going with JR. He won't be alone this Easter." And Calvin said, "Yeah. Well, as long as it's not with Charlie Nation." And JR says, "No way in hell Charlie's a disaster waiting to happen. Last night, as I was walking back from the library, I saw him standing and waiting on a shuttle, smoking that blue crap again," Jared said. Kevin even said, "The biggest mistake I made was rooming with Charlie. I think that's what lost me Jennifer. Not that it really matters anymore." Poor JR, man. 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Jim is in the office watching Carol Stringer's press conference. It seemed like the networks CNN, CBS, CNBC, and CBNC were tearing her apart. "Ivy League humps," Jim screamed, and his secretary could hear him with the door open. "Sounds like you need a drink," she said. "Give me that Campari." Campari's some kind of wine. I don't know exactly what it is. Now, there's pizza for lunch at the Holy Spirit Club as JR sits down with C.B. Coleman and Allison. "How was your internship today?" "Mine was grueling," Allison said. "It was a challenge, every bit. But Mrs. Cho says that Mrs. Cho said it was. You know, I bumped into Charlie Friday, and he says he peeps through the windows at her classroom, saying she's hot and has a crush on her," Stevie said. "That's not all he's had crushes on. The early part of this semester, He saw my list of professors and knew that most of them were women. And so he was listening, and him being legally blind, and closes his eyes and tells me he's undressing him in his eyes while I'm in class. Dumbass. And this is something that CB says. He's a very sick young man. I think the only reason why you agreed to have him as a roommate was to get back at your father because you were so bitter. And Allison spoke up and she said, change the subject. JR, your sister Christine was in the papers. They're having a little pageant to see of all the Texas girls going to private schools all over the country get selected to lobby someone on Capitol Hill. And so JR says, you want to watch the results with me tomorrow night? And she says, I love that. We'll grab dinner at McDonald's, come home to your dorm room and dorm suite, and we'll watch it. So it's 3 p.m. Eastern. Jim is in his home office, finishing up his communique. He emails Roxanne St. John's and sits back. Betsy was picking up her mother from chemotherapy. 6 p.m. Eastern. Everyone in the family gathers around in the front lounge. The mood is exuberant. And JR's on speakerphone here. And Jim taps his glasses. I am called to be an occasional Toastmasters on a day like this. And I just want to tell you guys, let you guys know that I have an announcement. Well, Daddy, what is it? Christine said. Miss Betsy and I have been talking 13 years ago, I set up a trust for you kids. Now we're Forever and Sarge getting married, I think. It's a good idea to give Sarge and her something for their wedding. So I'd like to present a check for $6,190,000. I think the most the Hammonds have been able to make us is 6 figures. Sarge, forever, you're millionaires in your own right. Okay. So now, April 4th, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. JR's in his dorm room, and he is talking to Dave Smith. I don't believe it. Daddy actually did kind gesture, giving that money to Sarge and Forever. Man, I have always had a connection with that cousin, even though she hangs out mostly with Christine. And Sarge, that man says order. And I'm really happy. What do you think about that, Dave? Something I don't understand, Dave said. Tell me. For months this semester, you've been nothing but dead angry at your dad. All of a sudden, you come back from spring break, and your dad is your hero. I can't expect you to understand, Gerald said, walking out the door. Okay, so they're finishing up breakfast at the Hendrick House in Chevy Chase. And Christine says, we better go. Mom and Daddy wish me luck on the pageant. And Betsy says, of course we will. Elizabeth, Marie, and Kathleen forever. And Sarge, Christine, and Bobby leave the table. Betsy, you understand, Jim said. It was the right thing to do. Bring our family back together. And Betsy says if we can just end the rebellious glances that Christine gives us at breakfast and dinner would be okay. Jim says, Betsy, I'm laying my cards on the table for you, letting you know how I feel. She says, well, Jim, but I'm also running out of time. Blue Star Society has a meeting in Bethesda today, and we want to talk about some pro-life moves in D.C. They're avoiding talking about the obvious because I know it could upset Jim. So, 1 p.m. Eastern, Sarge and Crider walk into Sarge's suite. And, they're all being all nice and everything. Exchanging pleasantries and everything. Having Dr. Peppers and everything. And then Forever is kind of like, hey, you know what, we're doing a small talk crap again. Sarge, what's going on? And Sarge said, look, there's something, we need to talk about Bottomless Lake. And Forever's like, Bottomless Lake? He said, what I'm trying to say is this. I need you to approach Aunt Betsy just to ask her to ease off of Bottomless Lake. And she says, now Sarge, you're not making sense. What do you care about Bottomless Lake? And Sarge's like, okay, so it's like this. I can tell the strain with Jim when he's getting ready to go to work and when he's coming home from work. He don't want to be a part of this thing, but Betsy wants to. And Betsy's like, I see. You're his messenger. And you want me to go between him and Betsy. And so it's like, I'm not his messenger. And, she's kind of like, Betty, like, really? And he says, I came to you because you're part of the family. You can with reason with Jim and Betsy. I love him and Betsy. And I understand what Betsy is thinking. But please not now. And she says, you're asking a lot from me. She's like, I do not care about Bottomless Lake. Betsy's cause against abortion, But she wants this thing with Bottomless Lake. She wants this. And Betsy says, all because his best friend Claude he's nothing but chaos. And ordered this without even consulting Joan. And she said, this is something she's like, I don't understand. We'd agreed to go off to college. I wanted to study, social and political science. And you to study business to form your own, distributorship. What the hell does this have to do with us? With Jim and Betsy? And he said, we get married. I'm a part of that family. But I'll never be like them. And Betsy's like, bull. Except I think you'll be more like Kyle. And with that, I see the problem. So Sarge goes like, hey, I'm not done with you yet. So they start kissing and cuddling. Yeah, that's a cool part right there. Okay, so it's 2 p.m. Eastern. It's Royal Christian University in Virginia. Elizabeth Marie, it is a huge lecture hall. She's practicing for the Nationals debate. And it's in Harvard. She has no idea that JR's there. And she's purple. Purple seems to be the color of this episode. She's wearing a purple pantsuit with jacket, gold necklace, given her by Frank, along with a gold garter belt given her by Dave Smith 6 months ago. And she's in the faculty, female faculty said, hey, you need to present one sheet with a profile picture. And she said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I was supposed to bring all this. And so Greg is in the back of the auditorium. He's saying to Kathleen, he says, is there something we can do? And Amy Kathleen said, look, I just want you to call me Amy. And Greg walks down and says, hey, once you go to the photographer to get your picture taken, it's on me. And Amy Kathleen calls Betsy, and they assemble on one page. 4 p.m. back in Lubbock. JR is sitting down in Dr. Harmon's office. Ready. He's enrolling. He's getting ready to approve his schedule for fall. And JR is looking like, I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna get me some ginger root beer because I have to drink this. JR is like a deer in the headlights, okay? Because let's face it, he's walking around campus saying he's over Jennifer. But in some ways, I don't think he is. I don't think he is. Now, maybe eventually in this episode he does. But I don't think it's in the healthiest way. That's just being bluntly honest. I don't think it's in the healthiest way. And so So, the fall, it's political communication, which is political composition, which is kind of like a speech writing course, kind of deals with persuasion, communication law, and intro to political analysis with Dr. Kinghorn. And he says, I approve this course schedule. Friedrich McKay and Bruce Kinghorn. He says that they won't steer you wrong. Here's the thing. Harmon has like an analytical brain. Friedrich McKay, he's more artsy, but he's feisty, political. Bruce Kinghorn, he's analytical. But, I gotta be honest with you. Harmon, so far JR and Dr. Harmon have been friendly. But that's gonna change, I think, in a few weeks. And he says, and JR says, Dr. Harmon, I suppose you know about the rumors around campus. Then I'm pining the way for Jennifer. She and I are over. And he says, bigger fish in the water. The key thing is to find one that won't bite. Dr. Harmon says. But one that's frisky. Now I gotta say this. This professor's kind of creepy. And Jared says, well, I don't know about that, sir. And he says, in any way, you should be proud of yourself. You declared independence from your father. And you start internship in Washington, D.C. this summer. An internship that I approve. Because it involves some independence from your father. And he says, Jared's like, the question is, where do I go? He said, first of all, you go to the registered offices with Disabled Student Services to get that schedule sent to them and the Commission for the Blind and to the state and all that good jazz. Another thing I gotta say is trust your instincts. Go after whatever fish you want. Just make sure it's not the one that bit you. You don't necessarily like that. Okay, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. With Dave and Kevin going to college Republicans meetings, JR and Allison are watching the pageant on TV. And it looks like Christine's winning. And Allison says, your family must be very proud. And he says, my sister has always been a winner. Even against me. Even against me. Now, she can end this crazy rebellion of hers. Argue against abortion for mama. And maybe settle this Bottomless Lake thing for her and daddy. The family is united again, JR said, laughing. And you love it, Allison said. Now, the Richland, JR, Sarge, Gordon Deco, and Andy Braddock are watching the pageant. And Christine is pronounced. And an announcer comes up and says, and the winner is, drum roll please. Christine Hendrick, by overwhelming majority, overwhelming popularity. She, and Andy Braddock says, thank God she can spend time after school on Capitol Hill fighting for conservative causes. Right, Jim? Damn right, Jim said. Jim, let's go to Capitol Hill. The traffic is going to be crazy, and I ain't no way that's coming fast. So, at Capitol Hill, Christine walks down the front aisle to make it to the rostrum. Mr. Speaker, Miss Christian USA, the announcer said, Christine Hendrick. And this is wonderful, Aunt Betsy forever said. And Betsy says, I know. And I know just how she feels about the abortion issue. And Christine, she's like, she's giving her an acceptance speech. And there's even, there's some diversity in there. There's a black congressman cheering her on and everything. And then Christine makes her way down the aisle and goes triumphantly to the gallery and sits next to Amy Kathleen hugging him. Now, high and lofty in the gallery, Christine is going to be one of those being high and lofty in the gallery. She's going to be one of the ones that's going to kind of get some sense of those parents and saying, hey, the Bottomless Lake thing, Mom, it's okay, work behind the scenes. Dad, I know it's not what you want, but it's going to happen anyway. Okay, so it's 9:15 p.m. The family arrives back at the Hendrick mansion, and Amy Kathleen gives Christine a box of soap and beauty products. They exchange pleasantries and say goodnight for the first time in, months? They've been fighting, and all of a sudden, it's like, months? And, they go, okay, so April 5th, this is crazy. It's 1 a.m. Allison returns to her dorm after studying in the library and finds a multi-text from her ex-boyfriend, Chuck. Come on, don't you need me? Allison, call me, I'm lonely. J.R. Hendrick is going to use you as a rebound. And then it's going to be over. And then when it happens, I will be right there waiting for you. To which Allison replied, JR is good. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Don't contact me. Whew. 7 a.m. Eastern. The Hendrick family sits down for breakfast. And JR calls Jim, so on speakerphone. What you got going on today, JR? And JR says, director's gonna let me meet for my student senate platform. Jim was grinning ear to ear, and he says, terrific. That's my boy. And Christine comes downstairs in time for breakfast. And there's my victory girl. Proud to be her father, Christine said. And JR's like, he's kind of like sad. I wish I could have been there. In that house chamber to see all and everything. He's wanting to be in D.C. with his family. That's just all there is to it. So it's 8 a.m. Central. He's at his internship. He checks his email, and guess what? It's Jennifer. This is a letter from Jennifer to JR. It's an email. JR, please call me. There's no sense in avoiding me. This internship my parents got me in is a stupid drudgery. I need to hear your voice. With friendship, Jennifer. And so JR nonchalantly deletes the email. 9:40 a.m. Eastern. So Sergeant Forever emerged from the fountain in front of Cornerstone Christian Academy in between classes to talk. And Forever said, tomorrow I want to announce the wedding date, but just to Jim and Betsy. And Jim's like, and Sarge's like, come on now. Betsy ain't going to go for that. And he said, besides, in my family, it's the whole family that has to know. And Forever says, fine. But first I want Christine and Kathleen up at the school Thursday morning to talk about it. And Sarge says, deal. Okay, 9 a.m. Central. At work, as JR is working on his editorial piece for the director, he gets a phone call. It's Karen Crider. Hey, JR. Do you want to go to lunch for old time's sake? And JR's like, are you kidding me? I would love to go to lunch with you, JR said. Why don't you call me sooner? And she says, look, I knew where you work. Your mother told me, I'll pick you up. We'll go to Orlando's at 12 p.m. Okay, 9:30 a.m. Central. Daryl's still at work. He's meeting with Brent Clark and a classmate. Old classmate he is from the freshman year, Krista Sutton. And Brent's like, now look, here's our argument for textbook affordability on this chart. Cut costs for parents, better opportunity for students, and less hustling for financial aid. All richly communicated. Once we start this platform, it could be a benefit for all of us. And you getting the student senate seat. And Krista says, obviously JR, we can and will do this without you, but we thought we would cut you in order to help you, like, use a chance to win the election. Well, JR's the only one on the dang ballot. And let me tell you something about Miss Krista, okay? It's not noted on this, but the fall of JR's second freshman year, his first one he had at Odessa University College. At Odessa College, rather. Second one's Texas Tech. Krista has a crush on JR. And JR just lets it go on until he finds Karen Crider. And Allison says, "Excuse me, but what if the publishing company is a small business?" And Allison says, "Do you really want to get into that in this particular time? I mean, think of the lack of access of educations for students and publishing companies that are in small business." And Krista gets all hissy. "Who told you to open your mouth, witch?" And Brent said, Brent's like, "I prefer that you not talk about this." And one of the bells, "Are you about to get schooled?" And she says, "Forgive me, Brent, but I know what I'm talking about. I'm in policy management and the marketing side, where you have to think about what move you have to make, even on the college campus. And James Ryan Hendrick Jr. needs to also think about his internship, how such a platform could affect him." And Brent said, "Damn it, JR. She's supposed to manage things, not to do all the talking for you. Please let's not get into hated debate while I'm at work. Allison is being premature." And Allison says, "Well, I don't think I'm being premature." And Brent says, "What's wrong with you, JR? You're rebelling with her because of Jennifer. Krista, this meeting is over." "Now, come on, Brent," JR said. And Krista says, "Let's get out of here, Brent." And Allison says, "Try to understand. I did this for the benefit of your internship." And JR's like, "You didn't do anything wrong. I'll sit down and smooth it up with Brent tomorrow. But I'm not picking up that textbook affordability thing because of your suggestion. My dad's going to be pleased about this." So Allison walks off and goes towards her workstation. Okay, so it's 12 p.m. Central. Eastern. Elizabeth Marie meets Greg at the Ascension Hills the Ascension Christian College library, and he hands her a check for $1,000 for expenses when she goes to Boston. Now it's 12 p.m. Eastern. Greg called to speak to Amy and Kathleen, but her friend who's there at the library says that she's not there. 1 p.m. Eastern, Christine walks into her makeshift office to find Greg's brother Trevor there. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just leaving. And Kristen says, well, what brings you here? And he said, I'm Greg's brother, and our little sister won the pageant last year. And I'm just cleaning out her little office. She's going to Sweetwater to be with our grandma for a couple months. And then starting as a freshman at Hardin-Simmons next fall. Trevor said, say, do you need any help with any political experience? I mean, beyond what your dad knows. And Christine says, Amy says you're finishing law school. Well, I could really use some help. And Trevor says, I never betrayed. And she says, well, then it's settled. I'll meet with you soon. And he said, but I heard about what your brother JR did last summer here. He's a gentleman that should be in law school. Now, 12 p.m. Central, finally. JR meets Karen at Orlando's for lunch. JR has spaghetti al dente. Karen wanted some calzones. I used to go eat at Orlando's in Lubbock, and I'm gonna do the little commercial song if you don't mind. Oh, sole mio with a jalapeno. Orlando's is a little Italian and a lot of fun. So Jared sits down. He's like saying, hey, it's been a long time. I wanted to see your face, hear your voice. He's kind of buttering there up. And she said, I've always wanted to connect with you, JR, in a real way, but Brad Wynn gets in the way. And she said, I don't think I can keep denying this. The guy I'm seeing, I'm not sure I love him anymore. And JR's like, oh, why can't we just wait until we're in D.C.? I mean, he just wants a real good friend. Because he's got, friends on campus that's accusing him, he just wants to rebound because of Jennifer. And, Jerry gets kind of pissed at him for saying stuff like that. And she says, you're right. And she says, in any case, I'm just 5 weeks from graduation, which I'm disappointing my mother. I'm not walking the stage. I just want to get to D.C. and meet with you. Okay, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Jim he's drinking, having lunch at the University Club in Washington, D.C. Who walks in but Judge Bill Clark, Brent's father. Judge Bill Clark, let me buy you a drink, Jim said. I think not, Bill said. How did the meeting go between the boys in Lubbock? It didn't go at all. Your son rejected my son's proposal, letting that Allison Hall leading by the nose. Damn snobby bimbo. I wouldn't blame Brent if he decides not to hang out with JR anymore. And so Jim's pissed. He pounds his table and he points the finger at him. It's almost like he wants to grab his fork also. And he's like, well, why don't you just go to hell? Our sons can hang out if they want. It's kind of like, go to hell. Until it's 1 p.m. Central, JR and Karen go into his suite in the dorm, and living room in the dorm. Now, it's not what you think when a guy takes a girl to the dorm in this case, okay? They just want to sit down and have some pal time, if you know what I mean. They want to have some pal time. Kevin McDonald's in his room listening to Rush Limbaugh. And Jared says, Karen, I know what your mother says about me. But it was not my daddy that taught me how to be a man. And Karen's, Jared's sitting in a chair. Karen's sitting on the couch. She leans forward and says, well, then who was it? And Jared takes out a picture of his grandfather holding a sign to the ranch. And Jared says, and he takes out an old photo. He says, this is him. Granddad Jeremy Swain, 1963, cattle auction in El Paso. He used to run cattle auctions from Ballinger to El Paso, sometimes getting drunk on the way. But he settled down around the time that my family moved on the ranch. And she says, I'm sorry, JR. I never knew. Question is, what's Trolley Nation been saying about me and you? And Jared's like, hey, Karen, look. Charlie's full of bullcrumb. And Karen says, Karen's not dying, okay? She's like, look, when you get to D.C., I gotta hear it all. Okay, you better tell me all. So, it's 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, and JR is sitting in his room, and his father is in the Dream Team Lounge doing dinner, and Jim phones his son. He says, I couldn't be happier. He says, you picked some slick cat to be your campaign manager, made your political deals, the student senate. You've been brought up damn good. He said, you picked her for the campaign manager job because you have the hots for her. And Betsy walks in, she's like, guys, down. Kind of tone down the testosterone. And Betsy's like, I didn't hear you come in, Betsy. And she pats her hand on his shoulder, and she's like, well, it's okay. And he says, now look, darling, I didn't mean anything by it. She said, I know what you meant. You're atoning for what you did to him, what your father did to you. She said, Ryan Hendricks said the woman walks 2 steps behind the man. No exceptions. And then Jim said, he said, let me tell you something why I'm so proud of this young man. JR lets this He's got this campaign manager that flaming liberal Bill Clark can't stand. Calls him her snobby Allison Hall. Makes his big political strategy. And she said, Jim, he didn't learn that much. He learned strategy from you to a smaller extent. But a bigger part he learned from my daddy. And he says, do you want to explain that? And she said, everything that JR does is strategy. Relationships, people skills. And JR says, yeah, Mama. It's like, no, Mama, don't butter me up. And she says, I'm not. JR, you use strategy, but not like your daddy. You keep in the good people, and you eventually toss out the bad. Do we sometimes as family could just get together? It could just really help. It just recovers me, Betsy says. And she says, now Jim, come on, we got dinner. So it's 9 p.m. Eastern. And Elizabeth Marie invites Frank into her suite in the Hendrick Mansion. And she puts on some soft music. And Frank said, I earned something today. She said, Dr. Smith paid it to me for looking up a major securities case for him, even if I had to use a nutshell book. And she said, it's $60. And Elizabeth says, I got news for you. I got paid $1,000 for a stipend for expenses to Boston. And I got us both hotel and airfare because I have a national debate in Harvard. You're coming with me. And Frank says, man, really, you Hendricks have the Midas touch. Now it's 9 p.m. Eastern, and JR comes into his dorm living room to find Dave there. He's like, man, where have you been? He said, studying with Allison. And Dave says, Kevin says he saw you with Karen Crider. Are you seeing her again? And JR's like, well, what bothers you about it? And I told you I'll wait and look her up when we were in D.C. Friendly lunch, friendly chat. Let's not make anything more of it. Okay, now. Here we go, April 6th. It's 7 a.m. at the Cornerstone Christian Academy. They just got out of chapel. Outside the English building of the Cornerstone Christian Academy, Christine, Sarge, and Forever, and Kathleen emerged, and they're pretty happy. And Christine, Forever, it's awesome that you're getting married. Congratulations. And Forever says the wedding is May 19th. Mom and Daddy will send you a plane ticket. Christine, you are going to be the maid of honor. So here's the thing. They had an idea it was going to be in the middle of May. And Forever's parents, Ellen and Frank, have basically been preparing since January. Okay, now, Sergeant Forever goes a space further. Christine talks to Amy Kathleen. And Christine says, with the good news of their wedding, there's something I want to tell you, Amy Kathleen. I'm sorry about my rebellion and cold thoughts towards you. I wouldn't have won this without you, Christine said. And she said, and then Amy Kathleen says, thank you so much. And she says, please keep it that way. Okay, so Forever and Sarge are kissing. Christine walks in. Look, all right, you two lovebirds get a room later, but right now, I'm going to take you out for a Mexican breakfast. That would put my daddy's Mexican breakfast to shame. And Sarge says, your daddy makes a Mexican breakfast? And Christine says, just kidding. But come on, you guys. And then Kathleen says, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm booked all over classes and meetings. Okay, 6:30 a.m. JR takes his plate of chocolate chip Seminoles and sits with Brent Clark and C.B. Coleman. Okay, and C.B. Coleman says, okay now, Brent. Apologize. You're lucky I bumped into him yesterday and told him you would be apologizing. There's to be no bitterness in this table and at this club. And Brent's like, I'm sorry, JR. I hope you can find in your heart to forgive me. It's just when I'm around my father too much. I still want the text for the authority thing, but you know, that's okay. I think I can be okay. I'm going to take it to the state legislature instead. Your father probably got an earful from mine, and I apologize. Accept it. I would just love to be a fly on the wall. Just hear your daddy apologize to mine. Okay, so here's what's going on. 9 a.m. Eastern. Betsy and Grandma Elizabeth are in the mansion courtyard with Forever, Sarge, and Christine, Christine and Elizabeth Marie walk in. And Christine says, Mama, Sarge and Forever have something to tell you. And Sarge says, Miss Betsy, we're getting married May 19th. And Forever said, Mama had an inkling. They were going on. They were playing for months. I want to fly Christine out so we can be maid of honor. And Christine says, well, that's wonderful. And she says, are you Sarge? She said, welcome to the family, son. I love you. And Elizabeth Marie said, I have something to announce too. I've been picked to debate championship tomorrow for the Nationals. I'm flying to Boston with Frank. I did it. Amy Kathleen Needs to thank Greg for me. Okay, and Christine sees red. She's pissed. She runs back out of the courtyard and then out the front of the mansion, and you can hear her car going out. And Grandma Betsy in her wheelchair, she turns to her daughter. Betsy, you better do something about Christine. She said, it's getting improper for a young lady like that to misbehave. So it's 9:30 a.m. I guess Eastern. And Christine comes charging the Royal Christian University library steaming mad. And she's demanding to Greg, where's Amy Kathleen? And, because she's expecting Amy Kathleen to spend all this time with the family, but Amy Kathleen is about to be engaged to Greg. Like, what idiocy? And Greg says, first of all, young lady, keep your voice down. This is a library, not a bar. Greg, second of all, at some point, Amy Kathleen is not going to be a Swain or a Hendrick. She is going to be a Harrison, married to me. Far away from the power games you and your father keep playing. She's not here. So if I were you, just leave. It says 9:30 a.m. Daryl's in constitutional law. Dr. Watson is lecturing about state citizenship and extradition, particularly about criminal matters, but she also mentions the context when it comes to slavery. So it's 1 p.m. Central. JR is in his dorm room when the dorm telephone rings, and he answers. JR, please talk to me. Nothing says we can't be friends. And JR says, and there's a long pause. And JR says, sure. I don't mind hearing from you again. And Jennifer says, I'm sorry that I turned you down. And weirdly, in some sort of way, you're a nice guy. Better than some of the creepy ones I used to date, she said. But Mama says I have to turn you down to seize this opportunity in London. No exceptions. We've all had powerful parents in our lives. Sometimes we wish we don't have to deal with all the time. I just made peace with mine. Daddy and I are okay now. And she said, I know you're not like him. Maybe some way down the road we can link up again. And JR says, we can talk over the phone. We just discuss things over phones and emails. But it's going to take a while for me to want to get together with you in person. Sorry. And she says, oh, it's my parents' fault. I only agreed to this so they could stop fighting. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern. Jim makes his way to the Cannon House office building where he here's an intern outside, and she's complaining about the jobs that a certain Democratic congressman is having her do. And he walks into his congressman's friend's office in Fort Worth. And who should be there but Gordon Deco and his lawyer, Molly Barron. Gordon, good to see you here. And Gordon said, good to see you, Jim. And Miss Barron says, the fun's starting, Jim. And he said, Gordon said, you done good, Jim, by not getting involved in Bottomless Lake. However, I've been told that you've been given the lion's share in escrow. I know because I set this up for you. Thing is, we went to Congress and we went roughshod with the environmentalists. And guess what? A resort is going to be built in Bottomless Lake. And Jim says, Where's Wiseman? And he says, he's getting a copy of the resolution before Congress that approves the development of Bottomless Lake. He's thinking about retiring in 1996. Jim. Meanwhile, I've talked to his son, Salmon. He's a lawyer, and I want him as a Republican candidate in Congress up there in Fort Worth in order to keep our industries going. I love you, Jim. You're like the brother I never had. Congressman David Wiseman walked into the office and he said, Hendrick, you didn't say you wanted this, but I got it done for you. And Miss Molly Barron says, she says, Dear Mr. Wiseman, his wife is managing his side of the development for him. And he says, the congressman says, Jim, when you have told me. And Gordon says, look, we know Jim Hendrick is a political appointee who can't have this, the conflict of interest. And I feel badly that it's come to this, but it's friend Claude over this can of worms. And so, as a decent conservative public citizen, I took matters into my own hands. Gentlemen, Molly, have a blessed day. And Miss Barron says, thanks for the copy I have on the resolution. Dear Mr. Wiseman, my plane leaves in 25 minutes. Miss Barron says, Jim, as a lawyer, I have to tell you this. You need to have a press conference within the next few days to explain what's going on. And Gordon says, well, I've spoken to his assistant Mike Fields. He's going to help him make an address to the nation in 5 days. And Jim said, David, I told you I'd get to the bottom of this. I never wanted this. I'm the Administration for Public Liaison with the SBA. And right now, unless Bill Clinton fires me, nobody takes me away from my job. 3 p.m. Central. JR is in the living room, listening to the Blake Carter show. The House Banking Committee begins open hearings today again about the Whitewater scandal. Plus, Newt Gingrich prepares to announce to consider funding cuts beginning for fiscal year 1996, but he won't announce it until about a couple of weeks. Now it's 5:55 p.m. Eastern, and Amy Kathleen walks into Christine's room, and she says, "You wanted to see me?" And Christine said, "Amy, just where have you been?" I found out. You reached out to Greg. Christine demanded. Christine. Greg's brother Trevor wanted to see me to see if I would ask Hannah to be best friend should Greg and I get married. Christine said. Elizabeth and Marie got support to go to Boston to debate Harvard on Saturday because of Greg helping out the family. That's not bad. And Christine says, I understand. I'm not. Christine, you stand corrected. Okay? Don't be idiots. And there's a knock at the door. And Jim's like, downstairs. So the downstairs is 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And JR's on speakerphone. In the front lounge, the family is celebrating. JR is on speakerphone. And Jim's saying, well, this here changes things a bit for you, Sarge. And Sarge said, well, the engagement ring? I don't think so. And Trevor says, I don't know about that, because I love him the way he is. I care about him the way he is. And Jared's like, well, I'm happy for you. He's being nice. You know, Jared's been through a lot. He just wants to unite with his family. And Christine says, I offer a toast to a future bride and groom. Maybe it's happy 50 years from now as they are today. And Sarge says, thank you, very nice. So, once they drink to the toast, Betsy says, now that we drank the toast today, I have something to say. And she said, this morning I took Grandma to the doctor. They found more cancer. I'm going to ask everybody to grow up and do their part around here. Because I have my work cut out with me between Grandma and Bottomless Lake. And then she was like, say what? And she said, I've been asked to help manage Jim You're part of the Bottomless Lake development. And Jim's like, what are you talking about? I never asked you to do that. And Betsy says, I know. And Jim gets up from his chair and says, I never asked you to do that. And Betsy says, if you have to know, Andy Braddock called me because he knows that Clyde is going crazy. I have no choice but to manage it so that the administration doesn't accuse you of a conflict of interest. And JR's like, well, with that I'm out. That's pretty dang interesting. With that, I hope you enjoy listening to the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the adventure. This is the James Hendrick Empowerment Network saying until next time, take care, and remember, the rest of the story, it's going to be a little bit more interesting from here.